Alright guys, welcome to this video. This is an $80 hiking tent, one-man hiking tent off Wish. Got it off Wish a couple of years ago. I used it in a previous video where I camped on top of a mountain. I'll chuck that in the description at the end if you guys want to watch that next. But yeah, gonna set this up, give you guys a good review of it. So this is 43 centimeters long, so from there to there, and the width is 15 centimeters wide, so 150 millimeters by 430 millimeters long. I'll put it in imperial in the bottom of the screen if you're a feet and inches person. So yeah, the size is pretty good. The weight is, I think it's just about 1.3 kilos.
All right guys, so here's the weight. Just remember, this final weight is without the steel pegs that came with it. I threw them in the bin because they were ridiculously heavy. So it's 1,282 grams, which is just under 1.3 kilos.
So that's not too bad. I mean, it could be worse, but it's a lot lighter than other tents. So this has inside it the inner fly, which is this, and the outer fly, which is this part. So with these hiking pole tents, this one's like a teepee, so it's just got the single hiking pole in the middle. You want to peg it in just loosely, not so it's pulled tight, and then open up the door and reach in with your hiking pole. You should be able to set the height just like that. There we go. So I've just got another peg here and at the back, so I'll chuck them in. So here we go. This is what it looks like all set up. This is just the outer fly. So inside, if I open this up, you've got a good amount of space in there. You'd fit two people pretty comfortably. So now I'm going to chuck the inner tent inside, and this is only for a one person. This inner tent lining, so it only takes up the half of the inside of the tent. Alright, so I didn't realize on this inner fly there's like a little hole, little rivet thing on the top in the center, so that goes over a hiking pole and then it goes in there. So it actually gives you a fair bit of space in here. There. Which is pretty good, and a lot of room in here for gear, to put a bag, you have your gear out, and you have your bed and stuff in there. So it's actually a neat little tent, very well thought of. So the dimensions of the sleeping area inside is 90 centimeters wide by 230 centimeters long, so it's a decent space. And as for the height, it is 1.3 meters high, 130 centimeters. The length is 2.7 meters and the width is 2.1 meters. So it's a pretty good size. It's decent. You could probably squeeze two people in there, or one person, and you know, you can have a ton of gear in there too. The quality of it is pretty cheap. The zips feel pretty, you know, I'll be honest, I have felt cheaper zips before, but it is like really cheap material. There's little things like this, like check out the stitching there. There's no, pretty sure, yeah, there's no seam sealing inside, and I'm yet to really test out what the condensation's like in it, but it was, as I said, bought off Wish. I think it was $80 or $65 or something Australian. So that's it costs barely anything, and for what it is, I think it was pretty good. I've only used it that one time on the mountain, so I want to take it on a couple more hiking trips, see how it goes. It is pretty light, only 1.3 kilos, which isn't that bad. It's got tie out points. See one here. These little toggles for the door, to hold the door back when it's open. You could probably use that for a tie out point as well. So 3 there and 3 on this side, 6 tie out points, as well as a loop on the roof. So I guess if you're under a tree, you could put a line to that without having to use a hiking pole inside. I'm not sure how you set up the inner fly inside then. You probably won't be able to use it, so it might just be if you use the outer tent. And it actually uses a lot of pegs. This is the peg for the enclosure, and it's supposed to come onto the peg for the fly, I'm pretty sure, but they don't quite fit. See, on this side of it comes out to this second peg, so I had to get pegs off a separate tent and put them in there, instead of using the factory locations from where the tent's pegs are. So you kind of have to have separate pegs to the inner tent as the outer fly, which just means you've got to carry more pegs. But this thing uses a lot of pegs, so it's got 3 on this side, a center one on each side, and then 3 on that side. So that's 8 pegs just on the outer fly, plus you need 4 or so for the inner fly. So it's really solidly pegged in. So I reckon it would be pretty good in the wind. So you can kind of like put that in there, and you've got ventilation like that, and on both sides. Most tents only have it on one side, so lots of ventilation there. So I'm 198 centimeters, so pretty close to 2 meters. I'm not short, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but I'm gonna go in there and give you an idea of what kind of size it fits. Also, being pretty broad, it's 90 centimeters is a really good width. All right, so at my feet, you see how my feet are touching the fly wire just a little bit? That's really unavoidable in one of these TP tents. And up here, I've got a lot of room above my head, but because the fly wire here is not pinned back, it's kind of laying low. But if I was to run it without this fly inside, there'd be a lot more space. So I'd probably only use this fly if it's in a really insecty area. I know bugs are going to be a real issue, but otherwise I'd probably leave it out. It's so much easier without having to zip yourself in and out all the time. All right, and this is the space without the bug net. So wow, you got lots of room. Even with the pole in the center here, there's like perfect amount for bed. Over this side, lots of room for gear. Look, you could even fit 2 people pretty comfortably. 1 person here, 1 person there. Because there is another door on this side. So, very neat. Very good, lots of space. Good amount of head height. If you really want to sit, like lean up, you kind of got to move your head towards the center, so you're in this heightened bit. But that's all right. I like it. I think the space is very usable, very good. So if you're thinking of getting something cheap like this, a cheap, lightweight hiking tent, there's so many of them on Temu, on Wish, on Alibaba, AliExpress, all of them cheap websites, Chinese made stuff. Look, the quality's not there, but look, I think it depends on how much you want to use it. Like for me, justifying spending $1,000 or over $1,000 Australian on a tent like this, if I was to get like a Hyperlite one, that's the price you're looking at paying. And I've seriously thought about it, because I've got a Hyperlite pack and it's amazing, but the real top end gear, I feel like for me personally, I have to use it enough to justify spending that amount on it. And if I use this a couple of times a year, I can't justify spending that amount on it when I've got a Swag, I've got a bunch of other tents, I've got my Alton my Alton gear, which I love using as well, so I use that a lot. When I've got so much other gear to use, it's something that's really highly priced isn't going to get used that often. So that's why budget, I think, is the way to go if you can find something that's a good balance between budget and quality. If you can get the uses out of it to make sure it's worthwhile spending, then I think it's a good thing. All right, so if you have any other questions, post them in the comments. Would you buy a tent like this? Would you go a budget friendly Chinese made tent that maybe might be a little bit lower on quality but is cheaper? You know, if you have $1,000 plus tent, you're probably a bit hesitant to take it on some trips because you know it's going to get completely thrashed by rocks and sticks and branches. But if you have a cheap tent, you kind of don't really care, so you tend to use it and enjoy it a lot more. Look, chuck it in the comments. What do you think? Buy cheap gear or save up, spend a while, buy expensive gear, and knowing that it's going to last you longer. But yeah, maybe you're like me, you don't use it as that often, so maybe it's a bit more budget conscious to go cheaper stuff, Chinese made, and see how it pans out. As for me, I haven't had any huge issues yet with budget gear that I've bought. So, all right, thanks so much, guys. If you've enjoyed this review, leave a like, leave a subscribe. We've also got a bunch of other reviews on other gear that has been our favorite gear, some budget gear that we've come across as well that we've really wanted to test out. So click on some of these videos and you'll see them next. Thanks a lot. We love you, and we'll see you next time.